This is a product video for Finsulate's anti-fouling wrap film. Traditional maintenance on the hulls of boats involves annual or biannual scraping and repainting, which takes time, costs money, and involves using paint that has a heavy impact on the environment. Finsulate's anti-fouling film is a turnkey solution for this, and here are the details. There are two versions of Finsulate's anti-fouling wrap film. The adhesive is acrylic, the liner, silicone. The width of the film is 75 centimeters or 30 inches. Color is black, but it can come in custom colors for minimum order quantities. The warranty is 5 years, and here are the uses. Finsulate's anti-fouling wrap film has short and nanotechnology fibers that create zero surface energy, which prevents fouling from attaching to the hull. The anti-fouling wrap film version has long fibers, which are for displacement holes and salt water. The speed wrap version is for planing holes and can handle speeds up to 40 to 50 knots. Removing the silicone liner reveals the adhesive side, which is flat for maximum bonding to the surface. It's important to pick the right version of Finsulate's anti-fouling film for the right application in order to get the best long-term results in terms of maintenance and drag. And here are the prep details. Finsulate's anti-fouling film can be applied on a wide variety of surfaces. For new boats, simply degrease and install. For old boats, it's a multi-step process. First, remove the anti-fouling paint, then apply a 2-component epoxy primer. When measuring the amount of film needed for the install, measure the length and width of the boat, count for the curves, don't forget to include the keel and rudder, then order. If the hull has been scraped and sanded down, it's critical to apply a 2-coat layer of primer, which will create sufficient surface energy for optimal bonding. And here are the install details. Workspace temperature, 10 to 30 degrees Celsius. Basic install tools. Also have a portable light and cutting table, along with ladders, platforms, scaffolding, or lifts. Frame the outside area of the hull first, work from back to front. 2 installers are ideal, and there's no need for a heat gun and no overlaps. Installation tools are basic, from degreasers, medium hard squeegees, tape measure, and lots of backup blades. Having portable light can be useful in dark locations. The first step is to frame the install area being applied. This should be done with 9 cm or 3 inch wide strips. Be sure to squeegee over the entire strip to secure it uniformly. To keep an edge straight, work in stages with one installer leading the run and the other sealing it to the surface. When cutting off the excess film, avoid direct cuts on the hull. Before going on to the next run, double squeegee the entire area in order to ensure it's fully sealed. For sections where the runs meet, be sure to butt joint the pieces. Because the surface energy of the Finsulate anti-fouling wrap film is so low, overlapping the film will result in lifting. When making a butt joint cut, the trick is to use the entire blade and flex it to flush it to the surface. The free hand holds the excess film away with slight tension to create an even cut. When forming the frame run to areas that are slightly thinner than the Finsulate anti-fouling film being applied, be sure to squeegee the edges tight. When framing the keel, focus not only on the outside, but also the area where the hull and the keel meet. Rudders can have a very thin edge. Therefore, form one half of the Finsulate anti-fouling film on one side, then form it tightly around the corner and onto the other side. Be sure that it's equal 50-50 on both sides. For sections with compound curves, the Finsulate anti-fouling wrap film will tend to bunch up. If this is the case, use relief cuts when necessary. Be sure to cut away from the boat, and then butt joint the relief cut in order to ensure a flat seal on the surface. If the boat is being held in place with stands, frame each one of these areas in order to ensure uniform coverage around these areas during the main install. When beginning with the large panels, working as a team can pay off in terms of workflow and keeping the panels from folding on themselves when the liner is released. As with normal wraps, it's important to make a permanent hinge to anchor the panel in place and then make overlapping squeegee strokes. Applying firm pressure will ensure that 100% of the adhesive bonds with the surface. When the main piece gets to the frame, be sure to tuck the film into the edge, then double check it with one stroke from side to side. Once set, extend the blade fully and cut along the tuck in order to create a butt joint. Run the knife over the butt joint again to shave off any excess, then run a finger over the butt joint to feel if it's 100% flush. Here's the cutting sequence again, which is important to master as it is unique to working with Finsulate anti-fouling wrap film compared to working with color change, digital full print, or PPF wraps. Keep in mind that when the blade begins to get dull, the entire blade will need to be replaced instead of simply clicking off the tip. This means that between 4 and 10 whole blades can be used during an install of Finsulate anti-fouling wrap film. Always be sure to install the keel and rudder first before working on the main area, as this creates optimal workflow by neutralizing the center. For larger sections like this keel, be sure to measure beforehand to avoid cutting panels that are too long or short. The goal is to have 4% excess waste at the end of the job. Keep in mind that Finsulate anti-fouling wrap film is non-directional, so there is no need to take time to see if the panel matches the previous one. For smaller sections, installers can work solo, as this will free up the other installer to cut down panels or work on the other side of the keel. When possible, butt joint the main panel to the set frame. This saves a lot of time, as there is no need to go back and make a butt joint cut after squeegeeing. This means that when starting the frame run, it's critical to set them straight, as this will have a big payoff during the install of the large panels. After the panel is set, it's still a good idea to double check the butt joint to see if it's flush. If not, shave off any inconsistencies before moving on to the next panel. The anti-fouling wrap film does not stretch during install, so bleed top and bottom only has to be 3 to 6 centimeters or 2 inches. This helps reduce waste and costs, so precise measurements are key. The final initial tack of the adhesive is very high, but during install they can be repositioned, so always be sure to pick it back up in order to make sure the panel is even. And here is a close-up of a finished butt joint on a large section. For small sections, fill them in, preferably with pre-cut edges to help speed up the install. Keep in mind that the panels of the Finsulate anti-fouling install may look different depending on what part of the roll they are cut off on, but this appearance will even out, especially once it goes in the water. With the keel and rudder completed, it's time to measure the main hole. Use a 75 cm base when configuring where to measure the length of each panel, and be sure to factor in the curves. Even though the panels will be butt jointed together, it's still a good idea to work from back to front. If there are any overlaps, they will face away from where the boat is going. For the 3 to 4 panels on the front and back of the boat, there will be an overlap on the panels due to the curve. Be sure to factor this in when cutting the length of the panels. Working with 2 installers can assure that the panel lays flat to the hole during the squeegeeing process. Often, using a wide squeegee can help speed up the install as it covers a large area. The cutting is exactly the same on the whole section as it is on the keel and rudder. It's all about setup and a long blade running parallel to the cut. For the overlaps on the curved sections, a good tip is to make relief cuts in stages before making the long cut. This will help the butt joint sit uniformly together when the cut is made. Even for the large panels, the entire liner can be removed, which is called going cowboy. This simply requires good teamwork and communication. Once the liner is fully released, the hand can set it flush on the surface, then squeegee afterwards. And as the panels enter the middle of the hole, it's easy to butt joint the entire run, which helps speed up the install portion. If there are stands holding the boat in place, once a panel is less than 75 centimeters from one side of it, then it's important to start the next run on the other side. Then fill in the gap in between the 2 main panels. Scraps can be used to fill in these gaps as long as 100% of the hole is covered by the Finsulate anti-fouling wrap film. Because the section underneath the stands cannot be applied during the main install, be sure to cut extra pieces. Then, once the boat is moved and about to be put in the water, these can be filled in. On some boats, there may be certain areas that have large holes. These will need to be framed with thin strips that can be prepped on a cutting table with a straight edge. Frame these areas first before applying the large panel around this area. Once the main panel goes around this hole, it's important to fill in the gap with Finsulate's anti-fouling film in order to keep fouling from building up in these areas. Be sure to cut the film into manageable sizes and butt joint the edges so they lay flush to the surface. For areas with minor raised objects, the key is to use the triangle technique instead of heat to spread the film around this area. By using the triangle technique, it'll avoid any wrinkles and keep the film uniform in appearance. Once the film is set, simply squeegee it in place. The film bridging the gap should not be forced in, but instead tucked and cut. Do not use heat to form the film in, simply use the hard side of the squeegee and cut cleanly. And here are the post-install details. Always be sure to do a thorough 360-degree checkover. There's no need of post-heat or edge seal, 24-hour cure time above 10 degrees Celsius. It is extremely important to make a 360-degree checkover to ensure that all edges are fully sealed and all butt joints flush. This helps with durability and that there is no exposed surface for fouling to adhere to. Technically, the boat can go into the water within 1 hour, but it's safest to let the adhesive cure on the hull for 24 hours to ensure maximum adhesion so the temperature should be above 10 degrees Celsius or 45 degrees Fahrenheit. For damage, simply replace and fill in. For removals, use a high-pressure washer set at 200 bars, 90 degrees Celsius or higher. For areas that have been damaged, they can be easily replaced by cutting out the area and filling in with a separate piece. Always be sure to use a light, sharp blade to avoid damaging the hole. Clean the surface first once the panel has been removed, then butt join all sides with the new fill-in piece. For more information on Finsulate anti-fouling films, you can go to these social media sites or to this URL. This has been a product video for Finsulate's anti-fouling film, proudly produced by the Rep Institute.